All right, it's been 3 weeks since we attempted a rescue on these citrus trees, and I'm pretty thrilled. This is worrisome, but I think we can rescue these. There's a dying back. First the leaves started dropping, but then the actual branches started drying out and breaking. Even the new growth, for instance, on this variegated is dying. The other citrus I'm worried about is this guy. It looks good and it's got some nice new growth, but look how floppy that is. That is not the type of structure that indicates a really healthy tree. So what we're gonna do today is we're gonna try to rescue both of these guys, get them into a really good soil container, and we're also gonna get them into a better environment with better lighting, better humidity controls.
So we're gonna transplant 5 citrus trees today, and we're gonna transplant them into our own custom soil mix.
Now we're gonna move them to our flood and drain indoor grow setup for them. Follow us. You know, I gotta admit, day 2, I was nervous. They had totally defoliated. I think changing the soil up and also the lighting environment wasn't a great call. You know, put them into a bit of shock.
All right, so we wanted to give an update on day 1 of the citrus trees moving into their new home, the grow tent. A lot of them have dropped substantial amount of leaves. Very worrying. However, we think that it is just transplant shock. Citrus trees are really sensitive to being moved into new containers, which is what we did. And in addition, we put them in a new humidity and a new lighting environment. So we kind of double checked everything, and we feel confident that there isn't anything that they're lacking and that the leaf drop truly is just transplant shock. So we're going to keep a very close eye on them, but hopefully we'll have a very happy update. They'll just put out some really strong, healthy new growth, and we can just forget about all these leaves they dropped.
This is what I always have happen to me when I transplant citrus and then move them into a new environment. Sometimes you look at some of the growth on this guy in particular, right? It looks semi-deficient. So honestly, I've been real freaked out in the past and had this happen with trees, and it's been almost as if the plant dropped all the leaves it had and said, I'm gonna build better leaves now that I've got a better situation here. Although sometimes the plant's been struggling, it doesn't seem to actually be able to recover. So I'm gonna be keeping an eye on it. Either everything's gonna look awesome in a week or everything's gonna be dead. Interestingly enough, one thing I found interesting is this was the plant that was struggling the most, and these are actually not from this guy. Let me pull these out of here. They're misleading. This is the only one that hasn't defoliated, and it's struggling. So it almost seems to be a response that's been most pronounced in the healthiest trees. These 3 back here. Even this guy, it's not dropping these brand new leaves it just added. It's just dropping some of the older ones. So I'm hoping this is a good sign. If you have a citrus tree that totally defoliates, it's either about to explode with growth or die. And fortunate for us, they recovered totally. So I don't know what it's about. I think just the shock, the transition makes them drop their leaves, put out new leaves for the new conditions they're in. And they're looking great. And I unfortunately did predict one thing pretty accurately, and that is the grafted citrus that was the variegated. This is what I've seen with citrus trees dying in slow motion before. So I'm very worried. In my gut, I don't know if this guy's gonna make it, even though we have plenty of life. An option could be to cut a clone from this and start from scratch, but the reality is, like, this growth isn't looking great either, right? I don't think it would take as a clone.
Right.
So I think our best shot is just letting it be, seeing if fresh soil and rooting in a healthy, lighting environment and humidity environment brings it back. It was struggling when I got it, and I probably shouldn't have picked it up. To be honest, this leaf curling it showed up with, I didn't see any new growth on it, which is always something to look for when you're buying a plant. Look for some new growth. I knew it was trouble. It wasn't the best, healthiest plant, but it was so pretty and it was so unique. So I bought it anyways with the hopes of rescuing it.
I mean, how often do you see a variegated citrus tree?
Yeah, and this was a unique looking one. It's a tiger navel, and but still nonetheless, I shouldn't have bought it for the reason alone that if it's not looking good and it's got signs of disease, that could have spread to the rest of my citrus. So it wasn't a great call, but let's see what we can do. I don't know if this one's gonna come back to health. I give it a 50-50 shot. I'd say this one, I think it'll be fine once we transplant it over. Well, it's not as bad as I actually thought. The graft itself did die, which it looked like it was gonna do. But the rootstock is doing great. Look at that. Tons of new growth that I'm going to let grow out. And I know it is great rootstock for grafting. So guess what? The 4 other varieties, which are doing awesome, I'm going to graft to once it gets bigger and healthier. I was pretty worried about this guy. It lost an entire branch. But look, this is what matters. Some new growth right there. You can see all the leaves down below the trees that had dropped off 3 weeks ago when I first transplanted, but they are totally bouncing back. Check it out. This is that kaffir lime. I was actually really worried about this guy. It just started getting some new leaves, which is huge. I love these ones, and once they get going, they really can move. Check out this key lime. Look at all the new leaves coming in. That is gonna be so pretty in fall in about a week. Here's the Meyer lemon. Also, tons of new growth coming in. I don't love the coloration of these leaves. Look a little light, might be a high pH or low nutrients, so we're gonna adjust for that. And even the blood orange, look at that. Finally getting some new growth on it. Right over here. And so those 3 are doing great. And here's that graft. See, the graft died, but that rootstock, it's got some energy to it. Today, all I'm gonna do, I'm gonna just try to get the water right. Everything's looking good. They did drink a bit and the water's pretty clear looking. So my hunch is the ppms, the concentration of fertilizer in the water, is down. I'm gonna bring that up to about 900 this time and get my pH to 6.5. So yeah, let's get going. All right, let's just switch over. Check the ppms, which is just basically the electroconductivity times 500. And yeah, so that's only at 498. So I want to get that up to about 900. So I'm going to add salt fertilizer in until it gets to about that number. I'm going to start with about 70 mLs of fertilizer to this 40-gallon res. It's Jack's All-Purpose 20-20-20, and see where that brings me. All right, I've got 70 mLs of all-purpose fertilizer that I'm going to dump in here into the table, and then I'm going to just pull the drain out. Let it just drain down, back into the res. That's how I mix it. You know what else I'm gonna add? A little bit of CalMag to this, because I do worry about that being depleted. This is my CalMag that I'm gonna use. I mixed it myself, and you can see it's a granular, and I'm gonna add 25 mLs in. The iron gives it a cool purple color. It's gonna be similar to something like a Botanicare CalMag, if you know of that one. Now, it does have some nitrogen in it because it's calcium nitrate and magnesium nitrate. So if you're looking to avoid that, you could swap with calcium hydroxide and Epsom salt. So same thing, I'm gonna pour it in. You can see the iron solubilizing in there. And that's iron EDDHA, which is the type of chelate. Long story short, it helps it stay soluble and higher pH. Let's see what it looks like. Look at that, ppms. Wow, that was pretty close to dead on. Wow, all right. This is not staged. All right, let's check that pH. And again, we're gonna wanna get to about 6.5. So let's see where it's sitting right now. Oh, wow. I wasn't expecting it to be so close. I thought it would be alkaline, but that's pretty good. I'm gonna add 25 mLs of citric acid. That's it. Bring it down a little bit more, but that's not bad at all. All right, so here's some citric acid. Gonna just pour it in like I've been doing on other stuff, and pop the cap. I'm also gonna add our microbe feed. Fertilizer added is just salt, which is why I added in this microbe feed mix, which in addition to a bunch of really great microbes, it also adds things like seaweed extract, humic acid, protein hydrolysate, spirulina, and a bunch of other things that will really foster a healthy microbial ecosystem, which will take great care of these plants. The other thing I've been doing is slowly easing up the light. You know, I didn't want to burn everyone, but I've been turning it up and up and up, and I'm gonna now finally turn it to full power. Definitely gonna need my sunglasses from now on if I'm keeping the light like that. Fortunately, that light dims, so I'm just gonna dim it down while I'm working and keep my eyes. I'm really excited about these guys. My hunch is in a few weeks, they'll be doing awesome. The rootstock on the graft that died, well, when that fills in, you know, I'll build out 4 nice branches, and I'm hoping in about a month, I will be able to graft the other 4 varieties to the rootstock over here. So join me. I'll make a video about that in about a month. I look forward to it, and let me know if you guys have any suggestions, comments, or questions. Love hearing from you. Thanks.